Hey, Dan.
How we doing?
Doing fine. Hope you are. We spoke to Garrick McGee last week.
Mm-hmm.
He shared his philosophy on quarterbacks and what he looks for, puts a real premium on leadership and just having the team believe that that guy can take them, where they want to go. What do you guys collaborate on there? How much discussion do you guys have about how to coach that position, and what are your shared philosophies there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that we collaborate on. I think one thing, and Garrick being around understands that, I'm very involved in coaching the quarterbacks, but you have to be able to pick things up. There's a lot of things that I might have to take care of something else, and he's taking over the quarterback room. And then all of a sudden, he's got to be the flexibility, I think, and the comfortable, being comfortable with me kind of coming in and out of the room at different times. So we spend a lot of time on that, on what our expectations, what our beliefs are. I'm in there a lot, and then there's other times I'm not, and he's got to be ready to kind of just pick up right where I left off, like we've always done with the quarterback. So it is. I think there's understanding where, and I think when you do that, there's understanding of guys learn differently. But also we teach, even though we have the same philosophy and we have the same expectations, and and we're really given the same message. It kind of, anytime anybody's teaching it to different people, it comes across somewhat differently at times, and the players can hear it differently, which I think is a big advantage. And we speak the same language. We're not like we're teaching different things, but just how we teach it, how we explain it, I think kind of gets to cover all the different bases within the room.
I know we've talked to you about the run game, but there's a lot of interest outside about how good is it going to be? Can the offensive line create the push that maybe it struggled at times to do the last couple of years? What strides are you seeing? What strides needed to be made?
Yeah, I think it's all based on our focus. Right? Like I said, last year I thought was our most efficient, was our best running year, even though like the numbers weren't big. I judge things off efficiency. So like 3 years ago, we put up the biggest rushing numbers. Last year, though, a lot of it's judged off efficiency. So it's a lot on our focus. I think it's been good. I think we got to get a lot better. I think, the biggest thing we're missing right now is just, our guys, the consistency of performance, little mental errors, and not just on the offensive line, just everywhere. I mean, just too many small mistakes being made with guys, which that happens sometimes in spring because you're worried about, am I making plays? Am I competing for a position? I'm learning what we're doing. That I lose, the attention to detail on some small things. So that was probably something that we got to constantly focus on, is making sure we're on top of all the little small details.
I mean, can this be a downhill running team?
Oh, you can be anything you want to be. You know what I mean? You really can be anything you want to be. You can just, what you're going to focus on, how you're going to focus it, how you're going to build it, how you're going to put people in there to go do it. We're still in every, and not just on offense. In offense, we met on it this morning. We're in the evaluation stage right now. Mm-hmm. We're in the evaluation stage of what we're going to be. I can go run the wishbone if we want to. I'll get it done. You can do anything you want to do. You can go last year, you can go lead the nation in passing if you want, but the key is trying to make sure you're fitting around the strengths of your players. And that's where we're still in the evaluation stage.
You love the wishbone.
So I'm great. I'm great with anything. You gotta. I like our system of offense because I think it gives us flexibility to do what we do best. Right? There's teams that run the wing tee. There's teams that run the I formation. There's teams that run and shoot. I don't know. We're kind of a pro style system. Which is create the flexibility to be able to spread the field and take advantage of matchups. We're that pro system offense that now a lot of people don't do that in college football, but we do.
Thank you, Dan.
Gatsby.
Edgar's right. That's like the third time you've teased the wishbone.
Yeah, we can get into it. Well, because people understand that. I can get into all the different, people think of a pro offense as I formation. Isn't there's I formation, power run. You can go the old school power I, go wing T. You can go with spread option. You could go run and shoot. You can go, with the air raid. I don't know. We're kind of a pro. Like I said, we're a pro offense, which is really you creating your mismatches on the field. You're creating matchup situations out on the field.
Mhm. You should let us submit some schemes or plays and try to fit them into a game.
Sure.
I'm gonna run the Statue of Liberty. Or what? No, what was it? The annexation of Puerto Rico.
There you go. That's your favorite play?
The first game. That's my play. From your evaluations, I know you've still got a week of practices, but do you know yet what the strength of this team will be?
No, not yet. Because we're throwing a lot in. There's a lot of things we're doing that we're probably not going to do in the fall, but we want to evaluate those things first. So what we're going to do is go through. We put everything in. We look at where the strengths of individual players are. We match those strengths together and how we put that all together within the package, and then we go forward from there. So, there's a lot of things I like, but I couldn't sit here and tell you this is the strength of this team yet because we're still evaluating it all.
And then I don't think we've actually talked to you about this. What was it about Garrett McGee that made you feel confident to say, hey, let's just promote from within and put him in this position?
Well, he's done this a long time. A lot of guys that are in those positions and you see now that are, in these analyst positions are guys that have, are kind of in a holdover for a year, right? If you go back a couple of years ago, our analyst went on to the left to become the quarterback coach of the Washington Redskins, so from analyst at Florida, the quarterback coach of the Redskins. And then, so Garrett kind of was in that same role this year, and we just made him the quarterback coach of Florida instead of him probably going on to be a coach in the NFL, a position coach or a coordinator in college. So I've known Garrett a long time, watched his players, watched how he's developed guys, watched his offensive knowledge, and just having, one of those things you do look when you try to get analyst positions in here are guys that you potentially could promote and move on, and you're basically getting that bonus year before an on-the-field position becomes available.
And then just last thing for me, quick housekeeping. Do you have a scrimmage again this Saturday to finish things up?
Yeah, that'll be our last scrimmage. Will be this Saturday.
Would it be like an orange and blue game type of situation?
No. Well, not the plan that way. There's some different. We'll do a little bit different than last week's scrimmage, but we kind of tweak each week a little bit differently to create situations that we want to create during the game.
So none of like the walkthrough. This is the locker room. This is where we get off the bus.
No, none of that.
Okay, thank you.
David. Coach, with the difference in the ability to extend plays from the quarterback position with Emory and Anthony, do you have to extend that to the wide receivers as well and how they adjust to different styles of quarterbacks, and how much focus is there for the wide receivers to work that into their game?
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on that with the receivers and everybody. The other 10 players on the field, it becomes a very different deal. Huge change with the offensive line, very different with the wide receivers and running backs and tight ends. Actually, very different defensively. It's good that we get to practice against that. Of just the understanding and the importance of rush lanes and staying in coverage and how to deal with extended plays and kind of the those plays that kind of get created beyond what was schemed up to go do. So there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of teaching that goes into that too.
Buddy.
Hi, Dan. Could you talk about what you're going to be asked on the Gator Club and tour you're going to go on here soon? And two of them are going to be just standard. What about the quarterback? How good is he? And secondly, can you beat Alabama? That's going to come up. So why don't you just address those now?
Well, we were 6 points short of beating Alabama last year, and so that's a possession away. And quarterbacks are, they're growing, they're developing. Our job is to make sure we highlight their strengths of what they do well. We're teaching, we're installing a lot of things. There's stuff we've installed that I wanted to look at, I want to see how it fits. There's some stuff that we installed that, you look at now and you thought we would definitely do this and we're not going to. And there's stuff that you didn't think you would do that you're probably going to do. And so, that's just something that we keep moving forward with, and we'll evaluate again. We come back after spring. We're finished a little bit early. It's obviously a very different calendar still within the NCAA rules this year, and we're still adapting to all of that. So how we kind of work and set our schedule and our work schedule and how we define what we're going to do over the next couple months, really, from Saturday. Spring ball ends, I still don't know when we'll be on the field. I think there's a lot of discussion about that, if they're going to make changes to all the rules over the summer. And then we kind of focus on what that next step is going to be of development, and the quarterbacks will be a big part of that. A lot comes at the quarterback position. The most important time I always think for a quarterback is the end of spring ball to the start of training camp. And you go back to the interview last year, and I bet you hear me say that, and you can go back to the interview the year before that. You'll hear me say that, and the one the year before that, you'll hear me say that again. The end of spring ball to the start of training camp is one of the most important developmental times of the quarterback, and I'm not allowed to be with them during that time on the field. So what they do and how they're able to handle it is critical.
Well, obviously, it's real documented what a weird year this has been. I mean, you think from the standpoint of the fans, there's no orange or blue game, of course, as you point out. And you wonder, because of COVID and the restrictions, if there's a danger of a disconnect with fans. I know your job is not to coach the fans, I get it. But still, there seems to be a lingering hangover of all of this, and getting them back to a regular heartbeat and a regular schedule and excited about the fall. Is there something somewhat missing there?
I don't know. I was up at Sawgrass this weekend at the Players. Got to go up there one day and see that. And I think you can feel the energy and the excitement of people wanting to get back into being fans and being there and being live. There's nothing like being there in person to see it. There's nothing like being in the swamp on a Saturday. There isn't. I mean, you watch on TV. It looks cool. It's exciting. It's fun. It's easy to watch. But it doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't have the same effect. I mean, how many looking throughout, everybody, and they talk about sports. I was there when this happened. You don't always hear as many people say, "Oh, I remember seeing that." I was there in front of my TV when this happened. It's a much bigger to say. I was there. I was in the stadium. I saw that play. So I think hopefully, hopefully we're able to get back to some normalcy in the fall when we hit the field again. And I think, I think all the Gator Nation is going to be excited. Everyone I see, they're like, "Well, I hope we can pack the swamp. I hope we can get there. I hope we get it back to where we want it to be as the fans, that they're desperate to get back into the stadium and to go experience Saturdays in the swamp." And so, hopefully through all the precautions, everything going on, we're able to stay safe and we're able to fill the stadium this fall.
All you have to do is guarantee a win over Alabama and you're good.
Well, I don't think that'll have anything to do with whether we fill the stadium or not, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of other factors that are going to go in more than that.
Zach Alberti.
Hey, Dan, we talked to David Turner last week, and he talked about how Gervin is still learning how to be great and something that he's really taking pride in. Where do you feel like he's at in his development at defensive tackle? And how much does it help that he, last year as a freshman, he got 2 seniors that he got to learn from, and then this year he gets another set of seniors that he gets to learn from?
Well, I think it's huge just to learn how to work, how to grow, how to develop, and how to prepare yourself. I think he's done a really good job. I see him taking huge steps forward this year. But I think at any player, and I think young players, and we talk to guys about this a lot, it's about your consistency of your performance. Okay, if you want to talk about how you did, don't start with your best play and then work down. Start with your worst play and work up. That's going to get you to really understand and pay attention to the consistency of your performance. Because young players, they want to say, "Hey, didn't you see my one spectacular play? Look at my highlight play I can put out there." Don't do that. Show me your lowlights, right? And start at the bottom, work up. And if you can work and continue to get better in the consistency of your performance, you're going to be a great player. And I think that's somebody, he takes a lot of time working on that.
And then on the other side of the line of scrimmage, you guys got to replace Stone at left tackle, and John talked about working Richard there. It's a spot where he's gotten a lot of reps at. Just how comfortable do you feel with him, and what have you seen with him? Kind of
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys you're most comfortable with on the offensive line are definitely Richard Garage and Ethan White on the left side of the line. Left tackle, left guard. Those guys playing those spots right now. I feel very comfortable with those two on that left side.
Thanks, Coach.
Zach Goodall.
Hey, Dan, I've got two. We've talked about him a couple times with you before, but now it's done after a couple of years. Dak Prescott finally got his extension. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Well, I couldn't be happier for him. I got to get with him the other day. I know it's something that it's a place he wants to be there. I know that was his dream. I always wanted to be in Dallas and be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And now for him to get to do it, it's a dream come true. And I'm just happy for him that it was able to get done. I think that takes, believe it or not, someone asked me this question the other day, but does it add pressure? I think it actually relieves some pressure for him. That now there's kind of he knows what he's doing. There's stability there within his situation, and his complete focus only is on winning a championship, and so I think that's a big help for him, and I couldn't be happier. And it's well deserved, well earned, and I couldn't be happier for him.
And also, I'm curious, with rushing efficiency, from what you're able to share, how exactly do you guys grade that? I'm sure it goes beyond yards per attempt.
You're looking. No, you don't go yards per attempt. You go each individual play, all right? And then you're looking at percentage of plays where you rush for 4 yards plus, but then there's situations and other situations that it's less than that. So it's whatever your rushing gain is on a specific play within a specific situation, okay? And then within that situation, the percentage of the times that you were efficient.
Thank you.
Nick.
Hey, Dan, you guys went early with spring, and it worked because you're able to get it in, but you were just talking about the time between spring and fall and that being so critical for quarterback development and sure for other positions. What do you do now with this long layoff? And you really hope Nick Savage and the workout program and that guys are holding onto those iPads and really looking at it
yeah, well, we're allowed meeting time with them. We just can't be on the field in person work with them. So what we'll do is you have to have so many discretionary weeks. So after spring, we'll give everybody an entire week off where there's nothing. Everybody has the whole week off. We'll come back to a quick 3-week utility lift and meet. Then they have a couple weeks off in summer vacation between the end of the spring semester and the start of summer school. Then we'll have about a 6-week window in there in the first part of summer school where we're able to kind of do another off season. That's really considered the off season. Then they get a couple of week break in between summer A and summer B. Then there's that last stretch, and at that point, that's what we're waiting to hear what the NCAA is going to do with training camp and figure out how we balance that moving into it.
Awesome. And I think we've talked to you about the two defensive line transfers you got. David Turner called them vital, just in terms of having to fill in for the two older guys that you lost. What have you seen from them just trying kind of stepping into a veteran role because they are older guys with the younger defensive linemen you have?
Well, I think they bring a sense of maturity, and they show the younger guys how to work. They come out there, they have the maturity and understanding of how to perform and how to prepare and how to work every single day. They've brought an unbelievable attitude. I think both those guys have brought an unbelievable attitude within the team, within their work ethic and how they show up, how they prepare. So if you add that, a great maturity with a great positive attitude is a huge plus for our defensive line and really huge plus, not just for the defense and the team as a whole. I think those guys, and they'll make major impacts for us this year. I think one of the things you do when you look for transfers for us are we're bringing in transfers of guys that are going to make immediate impacts. You bring them in where you have, there's certain depth issues or certain things, that that's how you pay attention within transfers. If you're bringing in transfers that are going to help, or there is a need base to bring them in, not just bring in anybody. And, and that was kind of a need position and the need mindset of what we wanted out of those guys, was that maturity, that leadership, that attitude, and that's what they bring to the table.
What's that homework process like? Because you don't want to bring somebody in and then all of a sudden it throws off the locker room or it throws off, a position group room and that time window to for the transfer portal isn't, it doesn't give you a bunch of time to look into that.
Well, I mean, that's the hard part. I mean, we're not the NFL where we get to go do interviews and combines and check everything out. You got to try as best you can to get the right fit. You talk to the guys a lot about what you need, what your expectations are, what you're looking for. And I think a lot of those guys, though in transfer is different than maybe in recruiting, those guys have been in programs for a while. They understand what's going on. So when you sit down and say, hey, this is where we're at, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need from you, that's the role, that's how I see this working. Guys look and they say, hey, I fit that. That's kind of what I'm looking for. This is a situation I'm looking for, and I fit what coach needs in that style of program. And it's different maybe than recruiting with high school guys because these guys have kind of been through it. So when you're talking to them about the needs and how it works and how it fits, they've experienced playing a lot of college football, so they know what's going on.
You got to bring Cannon to TPC. Is he trying to hit the ball like Bryson now?
No, but you know what? I mean, hey, he walked by Bryson. We were out there and we followed some different people. And I will say this, it's crazy when you think about things of just little things. Bryson, waved and said hello to him, and so he was certainly pulling for him. I had to go with. I was hoping for Lee Westwood to come through with a huge win yesterday. Just rooting for Lee a little bit. It's probably similar age group guy, so we got to stick together. But I know Cannon, just that, like a wave and said hello to him, and that goes such a long way. So Cannon was all fired up cheering for Bryson yesterday. Neither of us came through though with the win.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Does Dan Mullen turn into a fanboy at these events? Do you run up with a notepad and a pen will you?
No. I watch. I enjoy it. I love the competition. We got to see we're good friends with Charles House, so we kind of walked, followed him. He was playing with Phil on Saturday, and we walked and just followed them. And then after they finished, we went and just kind of caught some other people and sat on 17 for a little bit and walked around and just checked some other things out.
Goldie.
Yeah, Dan, it sounds like the NCAA is getting close to ending the recruiting dead period, I guess, come June. How important would it be to be able to get guys on campus, not just from an evaluation standpoint, but also, within the recruiting process?
Well, I think it's huge. I think one of the things I'm just curious to how they're going to go about it. Is it just go, there's still so many questions. Is it June 1st, we're life back to normal? Does it include the regular summer dead period? Is it official visits, unofficial visits, camps, everything? So, I think the tricky part for us, it's going to be great to do that. And I know kids are dying and excited to get here. The balance of how that works, because I think one thing that there will be a mad rush as soon as that happens. And, and that's something we got to be really smart and careful about, with COVID, to avoid a spike, to avoid issues within our team when there's this mad rush of kids trying to get to every campus as fast as possible. So it'd be interesting. I wanted to see, hopefully they get us the information sooner rather than later so we can have the opportunity to get a great strategy in place before it gets thrown on us.
Mark Long.
And you touched on your upcoming schedule, and even though you've got some time with these guys, are you more nervous than maybe usual that you're cutting them loose a month, 3 weeks earlier than you normally would?
No.
That gives them a lot of time to...
Not really, because like you were talking about, the growth period's all really May, June, July is the growth period, and that'll be the same whether we cut them loose now or not. It's what the difference is the 3 weeks of watching the cut-ups and the film was now happening in April instead of in March. And like the last week instead of the last week of February, first 2 weeks of March before you start practice, you're doing it in April, watching the stuff that they've already done, and they get to watch themselves on film.
Then how important does your strength and conditioning coach become at this point of the year? And we've talked about it before, but he almost takes over the program, correct? Always, yeah.
I still think the next couple of weeks in April, but really in the summertime is such a huge deal for him, And now this year for us would be a little different, because the month of May we're going to be able to be here. I don't think we're going off the road recruiting unless they change that, off the campus recruiting. Excuse me, unless they go back to changing that. But when all the coaches, aren't around, it's such a huge time, and so summer is such a critical time for the strength coach and his control on the team.
All right, Edgar, get in that TPC.
Yeah, no, I don't have any golf questions. You answered them. Thanks. Good tournament though.
It was exciting right there to the end.
Yeah, no, it was pretty.
It is. I mean, that's one of the. I don't know. I mean, how's that not a major? You know, I mean, I guess in a mind, it kind of is really in my mind. But
yeah, it's a great course. So Dan, just a couple more. Brenton Cox, what did he have to work on to become a more complete player? We obviously saw the explosiveness, but we also saw him, you know, not sit the edge a number of times, some things like that he needs to improve on.
Well, I keep talking about that. That's that consistency of performance. You know what I mean? You know, and that's still things he's working on. I mean, you know, we talked about it. You know, even in this last scrimmage, you're looking at a guy that's an older veteran guy that makes huge production, but then there's still some critical errors in there. You know, and that gets into, you know, I mean, to be a great player, it's I can't make great plays and then have terrible plays, right? I've got to be a consistent performer with great plays. And so, you know, it's not so much raising his top end bar, it's raising the bottom up within his performance. And I think that's one of the things that we're constantly talking on is you don't have to go make more plays. What you have to do is be more consistent on the bottom end of stuff.
Yeah, well put. The other thing, I don't know if we're getting you again, but before it's all over, but you're heading into it's almost 6 months before a game. And
yeah, it's a long time.
It is, and it's like, I'm sure I'll be doing plenty of procrastinating during that time. But for you guys, just how hard, what's the challenge? I mean, obviously you guys got to keep the pedal to the metal like all year long. How do you do that? How do you structure that? I mean, is it difficult to do?
Well, I mean, you just have your schedule, and this year's calendar was just different. So you just kind of to work around the schedule different. So for us and coaches, you're looking at things. You're gonna get me. I'm gonna do. We'll do something like post game after the last scrimmage Saturday. So you get me one more time before I disappear for a little while. But you know, for us, you know, your normal year, you're on the road through January. You have signing day. Then in February, you're kind of going into this offseason, getting around the players, film review, cut-up review of the previous season, getting organized for spring practice. You know, then spring practice ends and guys are out on the road recruiting in May and you're stealing the time to watch your spring cut-ups. Then June, you have a lot of extra time, you know, and you're doing your camps and there's some visits. You know, for us this year, you know, you got to look. So we had January and the beginning of February to get that cut-up review. So we kind of shifted that calendar to then. Now we did spring practice a little bit earlier. Some of the stuff you would be doing in June with your spring cut-ups, you're moving that up into April. May, the guys aren't out on the road recruiting, so we're doing a lot more of our February, March off-season stuff at that point. June, where normally you had some camps and guys visit and you're mixing and matching, my understanding, I mean, June's going to be an onslaught of just nonstop kids, you know, desperate to go visit because they have never been able to visit anywhere. So it's just going to be just nonstop visiting, recruiting. So a lot of it was just set around trying to reset the schedule. So it's not, I don't know that there's any more free time. It might even be less free time this year, to be honest with you, because of how June's going to play out. And then depending on what they do with if they're going to keep a dead period. You know, where that you have that dead period at the end of June and July where you actually can go see your family at some point as a coach. You know, I don't know if they keep that or not keep that. They haven't let us know that yet. So, you know, that could be, I got to try to then squeeze a little bit of family time in before that hits if they eliminate that dead period for the coaching staff. So it's all just trying to balance the schedule and make it all fit with what we have to work with.
Can you just go over that schedule one more time? No, I'm kidding. but truly, but I wasn't saying there was free time. I guess does this kind of separate the men from the boys, so to speak, in terms of programs? Like who's getting the most done? I mean, who's running it the most efficiently? Who's making the most strides?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not one perfect way to do it. I don't think. I think it's what fits your team, your program, and where you're at. I think for how the schedule fit and the type of team we have, we thought this would be the best for us right now. Where we're going to have a huge developmental time within May and June for our players. more so than and wanted to get some more football in and understanding. Instead of our developmental time is going to be even bigger in May and June this year, maybe than it was in January, February, beginning of March, like it's been in the past. So it just kind of turned it around a little bit. And, I mean, it's something we might continue to do in the future because I know the guys learn more from watching themselves. It's one thing I can sit there with the quarterbacks and constantly show them Kyle Trask, and I can keep going, go back and show just through the years, show other quarterbacks. It's easier for them, and guys are more in tune to learn watching themselves. So now we have a lot of film to watch of themselves as we move forward because we've been through spring practice. Okay. And that's at every position, for us. I mean, there's some guys, but that's at most positions. We're a pretty young group.
Interesting. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a great day. Go Gators.